Hello and welcome to Bible Break with me, Steve Griffiths. Hope you're keeping all right today and all is good with you. Today we're going to be looking at a little book at the back of the end of the New Testament called 3 John. We're not talking about the Gospel of John chapter 3. We're talking about the book 3 John, which is the book right before the book of Revelation at the back. There's this little collection of gorgeous letters called 1 John, 2 John and 3 John that were written probably by the disciple John, who wrote the Gospel and the book of Revelation. And these are 3 really short letters that he wrote when he was the bishop of Ephesus. And they're some of my favorite books. I'm not going to lie. I don't know if you can see this. Look at that. Look how well marked up that is. That's how much I love the book of John. I've been studying it, all John's letters, for a long time. So we're going to be looking at 3 John today for 20 minutes or so, thinking about role models. How important it is for us to choose good role models in life, but also what it means for us to be a good role model to others. Now, this is a really important topic, I think, because we all learn by example, and so choosing good role models for ourselves is a really important thing. It's in our DNA. Since birth, really, we are constantly watching other people, we are looking at our environment, and we are learning how to be. We learn how to speak through role modeling, we learn how to behave through role modeling, we learn how to eat and walk and everything else through studying role models. And the same is true for us spiritually, of course. Our greatest role model, of course, is Jesus Christ, and we want to model our lives on him. But we also learn from looking at the lives of other Christians as well. We watch how other people do their own spirituality, how they do their own work with God, their own walk with God. And we learn how to be Christians through studying others. Who are the role models in your life? Let me know. It'd be great for us to have a conversation today. If you're watching live, or even if you're watching on catch up, then please stick your comments down in the comments section and we can have a conversation as we go along. But who are your role models in life? Who are your spiritual role models particularly? I've had many over the years. There was one guy called Frank Atkinson when I was a teenager many years ago, and I was very new in the faith. He was about, he must have been in his 70s, I think, at the time. And he attended our local church. And he was a very smart, well-dressed man. He was always in his Sunday best, and his shoes were always brightly polished. And he was there for every Wednesday communion service. He was there for every 8 o'clock service on a Sunday. He was there for every 10 o'clock service on a Sunday. He was a very, very formidable man. But you knew he was a man of prayer. That was the important thing about him. And I just used to look at him and think, my goodness me, if I could be like Frank Atkinson, if I could have a tenth of his spirituality, I would be a happy man. So Frank Atkinson, for me, was my greatest Christian role model, I think. But what about you? Have you had some really good Christian role models as well? If so, please do let me know in the comments. It'd be great to have a chat with you today. So it's important for us to choose good role models, but also remember that you are a role model as well. Whether you want to be or not, as a Christian, people are watching you. People are watching how you live. They are watching how you make decisions in life. They're watching your behavior. They're kind of always looking at you to think, how much does your Christian faith impact you? Is it a hobby? Is it something you're doing, on a Sunday or another day of the week? Or does how you live, how does your faith impact how you are at work, or how you are at college, or how you are in your social life, and the decisions you make with your finances and your possessions and all the rest of it? So people are always watching you, and so you are a role model to others, whether you realize it or not. Now, some people are really good role models. Frank Atkinson, for me, was a really, really good role model. And but some people are not good role models. Hi there, how are you? Thank you for that question. Am I Jew? No, I'm not. I'm actually a Church of England priest. I'm based in London. I know I've got a long beard. And when I wear an overcoat, quite often people say to me, "Are you Jewish? Are you a rabbi?" But no, I'm not. I'm a Church of England priest based in London. But good question, because you're not the first person to have asked that. Lots and lots of people do. Where are you based? Are you based around England or somewhere else, or whereabouts are you? And anyone else? What country are you guys all watching from? Because it'd be good to hear. Anyway, so some people are a good example in life, and other people give us a bad example to follow. And in this letter of 3 John that we're thinking about today, there are both good examples and bad examples of the faith. So let's have a look at it. The first person that John talks about is a guy called Gaius. In verses 1 to 8, John introduces us to Gaius. Now, we don't really know anything about Gaius except what John wrote about him here. But it's obvious that John really, really loved Gaius. He had a lot of time for him. And in 3 John verse 1, he starts off by saying, "The elder to the beloved Gaius, whom I love in truth." Now, isn't that such a beautiful way to introduce someone? And John was very concerned for Gaius. Just saying, yep, okay, hi, Blood Squid. Please do ask me a question. If you've got a question, pop it up and we will see what we can do to answer that. But yeah, so when you're ready, if you want to pop a question up, please do. So Gaius, John was really concerned for him in every aspect of his life. In verse 2, he says, "I pray that all may go well with you and that you may be in good health, just as it is well with your soul." So John's concern was for Gaius in body, mind, and spirit, that things would go well for you, you would be in good health, and things would be well with your soul. So here's an important thing for us to hold on to, and I think this is part of what it means for us to be a good role model to other people, is that God isn't just concerned about our spirituality. He's not just concerned about our eternal salvation. He's also concerned about every aspect of our lives in body, mind, and spirit. And if we are to reflect the love of God to other people, if we are to be good role models in that regard, then we as well need to be concerned for people in every aspect of their lives, in body, mind, and spirit. And Gaius's own life reflected that. That's why he was such a good role model, because in the next few verses, we're told that Gaius was really committed to Christian missionaries, that he would care for them physically, that he would offer them hospitality, that he would offer them food and money for their journeys. And so he was really concerned for the whole person. But also in verse 8, it tells us that he received them as co-workers in the truth. So he sort of met with them on a spiritual level as well. So the example of Gaius to us is of someone who recognized the wholeness of Christian love and focused on the whole person. So when you're looking to be a role model to other people, it's really important that you don't just interact with them, as souls to be saved, as it were, but that you interact with them as whole human beings in body, mind, and spirit. It's not just enough to pray for people's eternal salvation. We are to actively engage with people, on a physical level, on on a mental level as well, and work for the transformation of people's lives in their totality. So as Christians, we are called to meet people in both their practical and their spiritual needs. And it's really good role modeling if people feel that they are cared for as a whole person rather than just as a sort of soul that you want to have saved. Does that make sense? So that was the first person who is a role model to us in 3 John. Now, he was a good role model. The second person that John introduces us to was not such a good role model, and his name was Diophy. And we come across Diophy in verses 9 and 10 of 3 John. He's a different kettle of fish altogether. And Diophy is a man with really bad spiritual habits. Now, John was the bishop. He was the bishop of Ephesus at the time. And Diophy was what we call a lay person. He wasn't a priest. He was a lay person in his local church. He was one of the elders of a local church. And his problem, according to John, was his arrogance. He was a really arrogant man. In verse 9, John tells us that Diophy loved to be first. He loved to be considered as the most important person of all. And at the heart of Diophy's problem was he thought that he was always right. He thought that he was doctrinally pure and everybody else was a heretic. So Diophy, the way that he dealt with others was to refuse to let them into his church. Can you believe that? He used to ban people from coming to church if they weren't as doctrinally pure as they felt he was. I'm going to, JK, I'm going to come back to your question in just one moment. I'm just going to just deal with Diophy first, and then we will come back to your question. So he refused to let people come into his church. Now, he didn't want other people to come in to preach in his church because he felt that he was more doctrinally correct than they were. He didn't want to be in fellowship with other local churches because he felt that these other churches might contaminate his church. He didn't want to welcome Christians into his home because he felt that they weren't as pure as he was. And in verse 9, we're told that he even banned Bishop John from visiting the church. Now, maybe we've come across people like that in the past, people who are constantly trying to show others how important that they are, how wise they are, how learned they are, how much authority that they have. Good question, Priscilla. What is Diophy? We're looking at 3 John at the moment, the book of 3 John, and it's actually the name of a person. Diophy is his name. We're looking at role models today in this Bible study, and 3 people that John introduces us to. The first was called Gaius, who was a good role model for Christians, and this is the second person called Diophy, who is not such a good role model because of his arrogance. And John comments about Diophy in verse 11. He says, "Do not imitate what is evil." Don't let people like that be your role models. That's what John is saying here, is that when you are choosing a Christian role model, be careful that you don't choose people who are arrogant and think that they're always right and that everybody else is always wrong. That's not a good role model to follow. And the reason for that is because Diophy was undermining others, and he was destroying the local church, and he was causing division amongst Christians. And you know, in John chapter 17, when Jesus is praying his prayer before he's crucified in the Garden of Gethsemane, he doesn't pray that we may have doctrinal purity. he didn't pray that Christians would kind of set themselves against each other in the pursuit of purity. Instead, he prayed, Father, make them one, just as you and I are one. Unity with other Christians is really, really important. And it was really on Jesus's heart the night before he died, as he was praying in the Garden of Gethsemane. And so Christians who cause division, Christians who always argue that they're right and everyone else is wrong, they are not good role models, and they are not role models for us to follow, because we are brothers and sisters together. We are members of one body. And even though we might disagree with people about some of the beliefs that we hold, it's no reason for us to be divided. You know, some people believe in infant baptism, and some people believe that only adults should get baptized. Some people believe that churches should have priests, and other people say no, they don't, people don't need to be ordained. You know, some people like modern hymns, some people like old hymns. You know, none of that matters really. At the end of the day, we are brothers and sisters together, and people who promote that are good role models to follow. But as I said at the beginning, you're also a role model as a Christian, and I'm a role model as a Christian. And so part of the question then is, are you modeling unity, or do you model division? Do you sort of shun other Christians because they believe things differently from you? It's really, really important for us to make sure that we model good Christian unity. Jay, you've been wanting to self-delete for a while now. Why am I feeling that? Would it be better without me? Is this the devil trying to lie to me? I don't know, but I'm drained and tired of being alone, and you can't take it. Jay, I'm really sorry to hear that you're feeling like that. The most important thing I would say to you right now is you need to find someone to talk to locally, somebody who you can share your feelings with. Don't go through this alone. Don't go through anything alone. There are lots of people around who will help you. Find a local church if that's your tradition, or go to a doctor or talk to a good friend about it. Really, really make sure that you find someone locally to talk to, who can help you at this time. Now, these things, nothing lasts forever. In terms of how you feel, you can get through any difficult situation, but you do need to make sure that you have good support around you. So please do make sure that you find someone to talk to. Okay, so we've had two people then that John has introduced us to. He's introduced us to Gaius, who was a good role model, because he was concerned for people in body, mind, and spirit. He's introduced us to Diophy, who was a bad role model because he was dividing Christians and causing disunity. And then finally in 3 John, John introduces us to somebody called Demetrius in verses 11 through to 14. And Demetrius was a wonderful Christian man who was a great role model, who John had complete respect for. Now, we don't really know who Demetrius was, but there's a possibility that he's the same Demetrius that we read of in Acts chapter 19, who was a man who used to make shrines for false gods in Artemis. And this man had opposed Paul's ministry and cut short Paul's ministry there. Well, if that is the same Demetrius, then isn't it amazing? Because he'd been converted, and he was now a leading role model in the church, which is fantastic. But anyway, we do think that Demetrius was probably the person who brought John's letter to the church for it to be read. And the way Demetrius lived out his life spoke volumes about his faith. As John says in verse 12, everyone has testified favorably about Demetrius. So he was renowned for his holiness, which is quite an incredible accolade for him to have. And John sets him up against Diophy. Says, Diophy, do not imitate what is evil. Demetrius, he is a man renowned for his holiness. Demetrius was a good role model to follow because his actions mirrored the words of his faith, which was really, really important. So, in conclusion, then, in this really brief letter from John, it's very simple, it's very down to earth. There isn't a single direct reference to Jesus Christ at all in this book of the Bible. But John is teaching us in his letter of 3 John a very simple and a very profound Christian truth, that our lives are shaped by the people whose example we follow. Our lives are shaped by those people who we treat as role models. And so it's really important for us to choose the right role models to follow. There was Gaius and Demetrius in that church who were both excellent role models, and John was commending them and saying, follow their example in the faith. And then there was Diophy, who was a bad role model because he was causing disunity, and John had said, do not imitate what is evil. So choose good role models for your faith. Make sure that you are looking up to the right Christians and trying to imitate their example of what it means to live a godly and quiet life. But also remember, as I said at the beginning, you are a role model to other people, whether you want to be or not, whether you realize it or not. If you are proclaiming yourself as a Christian, there are other people watching how you live. They're watching whether your faith impacts your financial decisions, what you do socially, the type of social media posts that you're putting up, the type of job you do, how you behave at college or at work or in your social circles. People are watching you and seeing whether or not your life matches the claims of your faith. And how people perceive you to be will also impact their response to the Christian faith. So our prayer today, firstly, is that we can follow in the footsteps of Jesus for ourselves, that we can follow in the footsteps of all those wonderful saints who surround us, who are good role models, and that we can be a good witness to others as well of what it means to be a disciple of Jesus. So we pray with hearts full of thanksgiving for the role models we follow, and we ask God to strengthen us so that we can be a good role model to others. So let's thank you so much for your encouragement there. It's always great to be encouraged, and thank you for your encouragement of me today. Jay, I don't know if you're still here or not, but please be assured that I will remember you in my prayers, but make sure you find someone to talk to. And I'd say that for all of us. You know, we all go through dark and difficult times in life, and you know, we can't go through that on our own. We need to make sure that we talk and we share our issues with other people. So there we are. Thank you so much for being with me today for Bible Break. I hope you found it useful. If so, please do click the like button, and please do subscribe to the channel, and I will be back with you again for another Bible Break very, very soon. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.